What's going on, my dudes? Oscar checking in with an all new video. So this is initially supposed to be a why you should read, and this is a mangaka that wrote one of my favorite current series, one of my favorite newer series. I don't know if there's going to be a next part to this series, but I love it. That series is Chainsaw Man, and it is one of the best current manga out right now. The physical volumes are really tough to come by, but he also wrote another series, and I did a video about that one called Fire Punch. And this was supposed to be a why you should read Fire Punch, but instead, after reading all 8 volumes of the series, I've decided that instead of doing a why you should read, today we're going to talk about how Fire Punch is a masterpiece. For this video, I wanted to climb right into this story, right into the deepest and darkest reaches. There will inevitably be spoilers, but I'll also be hopping around between all 8 volumes, so the consequences of events will not be in order. I will not be showing any major character deaths or spoiling the ending, but to do this I have to show panels from the series. In the end, as I've said before, this is all in all an effort to convince you, the watcher, to check this manga out. The story of Fire Punch takes place in the frozen tundra where fire is king. Keeping warm and staying out of the cold is a necessity for survival. The world was turned as such by a mysterious being known simply as the Ice Witch. She is something referred to as a blessed. Blessed are beings that exist in this world. Agni, our lead, is one of them. Each blessed has a specific power or ability, and Agni's is that he can regenerate extremely fast. His sister Luna has this same regenerative ability, but her regeneration is much slower, taking up to a day to fully heal. Agni and his sister aren't the only ones with this healing ability, as we learn later in the manga. There are a number of blessed with interesting traits, such as lightning, being able to produce metal rods from their own orifices, and casting flames that do not extinguish until what they are burning is completely dead, burnt to a crisp. A blessed with this ability named Doma comes to Agni's village one day and kills everyone there. Agni's sister dies as well, unable to regenerate fast enough. Agni is the only survivor, only he is in constant burning pain. It's a great call, and one obviously done on purpose on Tatsuki Fujimoto's part, naming the lead Agni, as Agni is a Sanskrit word for fire, and it comes from the fire god of Hinduism. There are several times throughout the series where I wondered, how do you keep this going? This feels like an ending, and there are still 3 books left. But that's the thing, it is an ending. For the character that dies in each chapter, their tale has ended. Their watch has ended. Sorry, I had to. Still, I think that is what makes this story so impressive. You have this character that wants to die, to give up already because he doesn't have the mental strength, the fortitude to keep going, but he does anyway. He keeps trudging along even as the people around him die. You have a character walking on thin ice, and it's only a matter of time before he falls through and drowns. Heinous acts are carried out, including rape and murder, driven by the beliefs of religious zealots. Beneath the sudden bursts of ruthless violence, the surmounting nihilism and the overall stark tone, which strongly borders on suicidal. This story feels like it wants to find some sort of hope, a glimmer, an ember of a burning fire in the remains of this world frozen over by the Ice Witch. Agni goes through a sort of coming of age in this post-apocalyptic world. In his journey for revenge or death or complacency, he never seems to know, in the beginning, what exactly he is looking for. You have a character named Togata that tries to veer him in a direction, but Agni is reluctant, despite it being what he inwardly wants, and that is to kill the man who murdered his sister Luna and torched his village, Doma. If there is one thing that has struck me about this series, is that it feels like you're watching a film. It's a film that plays out in manga form, and you're absorbed the whole way through. This is such a compelling tragedy that you are unable or unwilling to look away. You feel an overwhelming sense of remorse when death claims one of our beloved characters. There is a scene that I won't go fully into, but it takes place in the water below the surface, and Agni is saved by someone who, over the course of the story, becomes near and dear to us, the readers. You already know what's going to happen next, but you don't want it to. You don't want to turn the page and see the climax. I feel a need to liken it to the snowball fight in Chainsaw Man as one of the single saddest moments in manga history. There are scenes that have a lasting impression, and that snowball fight is one of them. I like that the mangaka has such a great sense of humor, giving specific persons really eclectic, nearly enigmatic personalities. Even the anti-heroes are interesting, and none of them feels like a cartoon villain. They have wants and desires, even fears. They are fleshed out and human. One of the best things, I think, about manga is how detailed everything is. These subtle details are lost in anime translations. Few studios manage to match or even approximate the artwork from which the story is derived. KyoAni is an exception, of course, because their work is incredible, and the 2019 tragedy is likely part inspiration for Fujimoto's one-shot Look Back. At the risk of sounding like one of those the book is better types, I think it is a good idea to go back and read the source material, as there are often whole sections that never make it into the animated series. I also like that you can linger on a page, never having to turn it if you are not ready for what happens next. In Fire Punch with Agni, you have a character constantly being told to live when all he wants to do is die. In other words, this manga will not only break your heart, it'll rip it out and stomp on it until there's nothing left but a red pulpy mess. Did I also mention this manga is batshit off the rails nuts? You never know what the hell is going to happen as the genre hops with nary a care, turning from offbeat buddy team up to straight up no frills horror. As much as I love Chainsaw Man, and I plan to talk about that series until the end of time, it doesn't hold a candle to how ruthless and depraved the world of Fire Punch is. How does one exist in this state and not become affected by it? Over time, humanity chipping away, leaving behind the facade. There is no good left, no humility or love, only instinct and survival. Heroes are made by the worst they have faced, if it doesn't break them, and instead they overcome. So I'm legitimately of the opinion that Tatsuki Fujimoto can do no wrong. Like, the man is an absolute fucking genius, and like, he writes and draws everything. I think he has assistants, but I'm not sure if he does or not. You can probably check by looking at the back. I want to look at the back here just to see if he has any assistants. All right. Well, in the Chainsaw Man volumes that I have before me, it doesn't say if he has assistants or not, but I think he did have assistants on Fire Punch. Yeah, so he did have assistants on Fire Punch. I'll just show this panel here. So he did have assistants on Fire Punch. I don't know if he had assistants on Chainsaw Man or not. I first came into the knowing about Tatsuki Fujimoto's work through Chainsaw Man. I'd seen YouTubers talking about the series in the past, and it just seemed really interesting to me. I ended up getting the Viz app specifically for Chainsaw Man, and I remember started to no, that's not true. I did get the Viz app for Chainsaw Man, but that was later. I checked out Chainsaw Man because I saw that it had gone live. The pre-order for the first volume of Chainsaw Man had gone live, and I wanted to check it out. I had no idea who Tatsuki Fujimoto was, and I finally read it. I read the first volume, or the first physical volume, and I could not wait to see what happened next. So I got the Viz app and started reading it on the Viz app, and then just tore through the whole series and fucking loved every second of it. There was times where I was just absolutely heartbroken, and times where I was like madly in love with the characters, and I think every single aspect of Chainsaw Man is just brilliant. I remember seeing comments in the Viz app, like comments under certain videos under different volumes or like the single chapters of Chainsaw Man, telling people to read Fire Punch. Like, oh, if you think this is heartbreaking, wait till you read Fire Punch. So I ended up checking out Fire Punch, and yeah, it's heartbreaking as fuck, but it is such a good manga, and that's why I wanted to do this video and just like highlight Fire Punch. The hype for Chainsaw Man is so high that I feel like people aren't really realizing or noticing that he actually wrote another series that's just as good as Chainsaw Man. I mean, the ending for Fire Punch is a little more artistic. Let's just say that it's a little more artistic. I don't want to spoil anything. You know, this is supposed to be like a no spoiler review, I guess, if you will. I don't even know if I want to call this a review. It's more of a saying kind words about the creator and the work that he created, and it's not in any way to like take a shit on anything or to hate. He's absolutely love this dude's work. Like, I have the current volumes. 7 is coming out on Tuesday, volume 7. But I have all the current volumes right here of Chainsaw Man, and I think I think that Chainsaw Man also is a fucking masterpiece. And this is a guy that just can create such fantastic stories. Like, even Look Back, which I've talked about in other videos as well, is so beautifully drawn, and I won't say anything about that because I also don't want to spoil it. I'll just say that it does things that I didn't expect it to do, and I think a lot of people were expecting it to be more Chainsaw Man, and it had nothing to do with Chainsaw Man. And it's more about a manga creating process starting from childhood and these two characters coming to know one another, and it's an incredible story. It's kind of like a coming of age story, and it's mashed up with some really tragic events that are pretty close to reality, that are actually extremely close to reality. And the way that he puts it all together works so well. And this is a guy that he must just do so much research and just bury himself, and he buries, you know, that he buries himself in the details of what he's creating, and that's what makes his work so special. And he's definitely an artist that I think everyone should keep an eye on, and not just Chainsaw Man, because there's so much hype right now around Chainsaw Man, and like, I knew that was going to happen. I talked about that in my one video, and it makes sense. And it's just like, it's kind of impossible not to see it happening. And once the series actually comes out, once the anime comes out, I think Chainsaw Man's going to blow up even more, and Fire Punch might even get further buried under the weight of Chainsaw Man. But I do want to do some justice for Fire Punch. I don't know if I can do it. Might be a little pretentious. This whole thing is obviously pretty pretentious to think that I could in any way, shape, or form do justice to such an incredible series, but I do have more to say, so please stick around and let's get into the next part of this Fire Punch is a masterpiece video. The mythos, the legend of Fire Punch, spreads both hope and fear amongst the people of this frozen world. Some revere him, and others see him as a demon hell-bent on destruction. There are ambivalent states living within one man, the part that is Fire Punch and the part that is Agni. The former is a force of nature, a walking, towering inferno, and the latter is a broken man trying to find death as a means to resolve his past mistakes. Regardless of on which side one stands, people converge around this man and this idea that his existence represents an answer to the cold, warmth from the frost. Allies quickly form up around Agni, wanting to protect what he means to them, the ideology, the hope his existence inspires in their hearts. I recently found out Tatsuki Fujimoto is only like 27 or 28 years old. That means he was about 24 when he started writing Fire Punch. It began serialization in 2016, but he was probably fleshing it out long before then. I am 32 and only recently had some of my work published. This isn't about me though, and I won't self-promote. Each of the 8 volumes in this story feels like its own world, and together they make up the legend of Fire Punch. Volume 4 is action-packed and kind of reminds me of Mad Max Fury Road. I wouldn't be surprised if it is a direct influence, as this series constantly references film. It introduces several new characters in that volume, even though not all of them speak, or if they do, they don't speak the same language. Regardless, they are entertaining to watch, as is the case with all of Fujimoto's creations, and it stands clear that such is the tremendous force Agni, as a god, has inspired. The power his presence alone yields, Even a language barrier won't stop people from teaming up for the greater good, a rallying beacon. There are instances throughout the series where it is like the light is on in a room and suddenly that light flickers off and only darkness remains. While that deep dark nothingness reigns, horrible things happen, and when the light turns back on, there are the remains of charred bones and no clue as to how they piled up. It's like being blind drunk one moment and suddenly sober the next, the Hangover franchise, but in the 9 layers of hell, and our protagonist is a torture demon. You want to see the guilty pay for their past transgressions, but is it too far when even the children they raised are swept up in the blaze? Those that had no say in the sins of the father, sadly they are often reflected on his offspring. An eye for an eye leaves the world blind, and in truth, there isn't much left to see anyway, not after all the havoc has been wreaked and the guilty and innocent alike have been thoroughly punished. How much carnage, how much destruction, brutality, and violence is too much? What about when a man you deify, stand behind, and even martyr turns on you? Gods always disappoint their subjects, and human beings masquerading as them can only do the same. I love the aesthetics of this series, brutal and relentless as they may be. Art does not have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be flowers and rainbows. It can be ghastly and vicious so long as it tells a compelling narrative. I love the design and the more subtle and nuanced moments where characters go fishing, even hunting. Agni lets go of his hatred at one point and begins to live a normal life, but there is sadly no end to this conflict, as it is an internal one, and one that will inevitably rear its ugly head. It is difficult to articulate the series without giving away the twists, and of those there are plenty. One of my favorite things to do, something I did with Chainsaw Man, and I did this with Fire Punch as well, was to go to the Viz app and read the comments. I wanted to see if people shared my level of sadness or disappointment or anger at how different scenes played out. There is a particular one in which Agni goes to a house where a girl is being held captive, and it is legitimately one of the most terrifying panels I've ever witnessed, and it was nice to know I wasn't the only one having that feeling. This is a manga that will bring people together around the internet water cooler, and people will sit and discuss the ramifications of our lead's decisions and how those decisions affect the people around him, and how those people's perspectives are forever altered, either for good or bad. We see what started off as a sweet, dense boy become a full-fledged cult leader, and I'm not even referring to Agni, though it is in direct consequence to his actions. Every action has an equal but separate reaction, and nowhere is that truer than in this manga. Only the cause and effect here is multiplied by 1,000-fold. The pieces fit the narrative puzzle in oblong and obtuse ways. The end is deafening but cathartic. You've gone not on just a journey, but a voyage. Watch the character evolve and grow, and then the screen cuts to black. You return your seats to the upright position. You collect your belongings, throw away the empty popcorn container, listen to the idle chatter of other theater goers, walk past the people standing in line waiting to get in, and you leave the theater. Your thoughts race with what you've just witnessed. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you indifferent to it? Was it a masterpiece after all, or just another film? So that's all the panels that I'm going to be showing for this video. I hope that you've enjoyed it so far. If you've stuck around through this whole thing, I know this is like a huge rambling, pretentious endeavor on my part, but I really did want to do this video. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. I actually wanted to use something to kind of highlight the extremes, from something like Fire Punch going into Chainsaw Man. And I know for a fact that if I had read Fire Punch before Chainsaw Man, I would have been even more in awe of the fact that this dude created something that is just as bleak and just such a unique vision as Fire Punch, and then going into something shonen-esque like Chainsaw Man, which is like extremely shonen. Like it has the moments in it that are definitely Fire Punch, where it's just where you think things are going to play out a certain way and then they absolutely go the opposite direction, and it is just absolutely bananas. And it's so well balanced that there's just so many ideas in this person's head that he has like a whole story that's just this dystopian wasteland, and it's just miserable and everybody's fucking miserable, and women are enslaved and you're not allowed to have any sexual preferences outside of being heterosexual. It's just so well orchestrated. And then you go into like Chainsaw Man, which is just raucous and so much fun and such a blast to read. And that's kind of why I wanted to highlight this right here, Die Dark and Dorohedoro by Yu Hayashida. This is not, neither of these is super duper far removed from the other. I'm almost done with volume 2 of Die Dark, and it's not like these aren't super removed from each other, right? Like, you know that this is the same person that wrote both of these volumes, and they're kind of similar in a sense. And you know, like I love her writing because I think it's insane. Her characters are all fucking crazy, and it works super well. And like it's not extremely removed from the other, and that's kind of what I think the brilliance of Datsuki Fujimoto is that they do like Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man feel like two different series, like two different entities. Like I don't want to, like I said, I've tried not to spoil anything this whole video, and I'm gonna continue doing that. But the journey that our boy here, this is Denji, he's the lead boy in Chainsaw Man. The journey that he goes on and the journey that our other boy over here, Agni, goes on are two completely different fucking journeys. I love what he did with it. I will say that. I love what he did with both of them. You know, the just one is like just a simplistic kid who wants to touch fucking titties, and then the other one is this dude who grew up, this kid who grew up to be a man, but he's still kind of a child, and he does some really questionable things throughout the course of this story, but it kind of makes sense. You know, the things that happen make sense because of the landscape that the story is placed in, and the fact that there really isn't a kind of law, if you will, because of the fact that everything just kind of fell into disarray. And the world is just absolute chaos, so you try to make sense of that chaos, and it's kind of hard to exist in chaos without bringing about further destruction. And that just makes sense. You know, there is no real law because the world is just gone to shit, and all law, any semblance of order has been destroyed, and roving packs of people kind of build up their own civilizations, and it doesn't always, it kind of becomes like, oh, I can't totalitarian, you know, it kind of becomes like 1984. It just turns into this oppressive force. People can't help but want to lash out at it or succumb and be crushed under the wheels of the ever turning machine. And that's kind of what Fire Punch is, in my opinion. It's just this oppressive machine and this character that gets unwillingly and unwittingly thrown into it, into chaos, and he has no choice but to climb to the surface of that chaos, and in doing so he is forever altered. That's really all I have to say. I could just keep pulling fancy words out of my ass and trying to convince you that I'm eloquent and that I can speak well, but that's really it. That's all I have. I want to thank you so much if you watched this video. I know this became extremely long. I kind of knew it was going to be a long video. There's no way that I could do this without it being super duper long. So thank you so much for watching this. If you could like the video, sub to the channel if you've stuck around this long. You don't have to do any of those things. If you could drop me a comment though, or anything, you know, anything really good, whatever you want to do, it counts. Thank you so much for your time. I know you could have done literally anything else. You could have been outside playing Pokemon Go, catching fucking Pikachus, or doing, you know, you could have been doing your taxes or whatever. But instead you chose to spend that time with me, and I am extremely grateful to you for your presence and for checking these videos out, for giving me views. That all matters to me. I've been doing this for what, 4 months now, which really isn't that long of a time, but still, you know, it's pretty wild, and I've been consistently doing a video every week. So that's it. Take care of yourselves, please, and always be safe. Don't drink from things that strangers give you unless it's sealed. Don't take drinks from strangers unless they are sealed, or unless you see the drink being poured. Take care of yourselves, take care of your families. Until next time, I have been your host on this journey through manga. This manga journey. Take care. Thank you for watching.
How you feel when you sippin' on drip in the whip? Haters talking shit, but I stay rolling lit. Stay holding splits, man, I crave popping pills. Sluggish on the drink, bitch, I'm chugging refills. Hallucinating, faded, start oozing, making faces.
If you're watching this video, then that means I have decided to talk about fucking Fire Punch. I'm in the middle of volume 4 right now, so chances are you're not going to be watching this video for a while. Today is the 8th of August, 2021. I'm probably not going to be posting this video for a while because I have to get through the rest of it, but I've made up my mind that I'm going to read all of Fire Punch. What's going on? So this is my second update. Today is Thursday, and I'm getting ready to go to work. I'm in the middle of book 5, as you can see, and I'm really excited to talk about this series. Once I finish this thing, I cannot wait to start recording the actual video itself, and just get what's going on, my dudes. Just wanted to do my quick update. I'm in the middle of volume 6 now. You can see I got my notes right here, my sticky notes. So I'm thinking now that I'm probably gonna put this. Probably gonna end up putting these updates at the end of the video, so hopefully you'll stick around and watch the whole thing so that you can see all the random little bits of work that I've been doing, trying to get this thing ready to go. Hopefully in the next couple weeks I'll finish up the series. Just finished volume 7. I got all my notes. Holy hell. It feels like it's starting to reach its climax. It is in no way, shape, or form slowed down. If anything, it does feel like this thing is a masterpiece. I called it that early on, and I really do believe that it will be a story that will stay with me for a long time, and I can't wait to do this video. So I cannot wait to finally finish this thing. Last volume, halfway through it. It's gonna be so exciting to talk about this series. So hopefully tomorrow I'll finish this up, and it is 12:30 right now, and today is the 5th of September, and I'm hoping to have this finished by tomorrow, or today really. It's today now. It's what, Sunday? So yeah, hopefully I'll have this ready to go. I've changed the title of the video. It's going to now be Fire Punch is a masterpiece instead of Why You Should Read Fire Punch. So yeah, I hope you'll watch it. This probably won't even show until the end of the video, so hopefully you've actually stuck around and watched the whole thing to show some support. So that's all I have for you. Take care. Thank you so much for watching this. Thank you for supporting me through all of my random endeavors. This has been quite a journey for me all through, including my vinyl journey videos and my manga stuff, everything that I've done with this channel. It's all been a work in progress, and I want to keep improving. Yeah, again, thank you so much for everything that you've done, for sticking around and watching all of these videos, and I'm trying to do better each time. So thank you. Take care.